We now turn to a special one-on-one conversation with Japan's Minister of Finance, Ms. Satsuki Katayama. This dialogue will be moderated by Mr. Rick Davis of the McCain Institute. Please welcome Minister Katayama and Mr. Davis to the stage.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for all the participation that we've had today. I want a special thanks to the International House and Chairman Kondo and Professor Jimbo for all the hospitality that they've shown us. This is a really special moment for the McCain Institute. We've looked for some time at making a mark here in Japan and building a relationship and having partnerships, and I feel we've really accomplished that today. So thank you. Thank you to the McCain Institute, Evelyn Farkas, Jack McCain. We couldn't do this without you. I'm very proud as chairman of the McCain Institute to see something like this come off after so many years of talking about how exciting this would be. And Minister Katayama, thank you so much for being here today. You've really come a long way. In fact, you may have come further than anyone else to be here today, which is a little unusual since this is your home. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how historic it is to have you here as a first female foreign minister of finance. You have broken maybe the last glass ceiling in finance in the world. And I think it's just an incredible thing. And I'm curious, before we really get started with the issues, if you could maybe give us a sense as to what kind of impact you want to have as an individual in both the political and policy life of Japan right now.
I just came back from my visit to Washington, D.C. for, as you know, Rare Earth Summit among G7 finance ministers. And I had a bilateral meeting with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and that all went very well. And yesterday afternoon, I came back to Haneda and went to see my Prime Minister Takaichi. She was delighted, and she was really very much thankful for all the cooperation, especially from the United States, because after we had finished our bilateral meeting, Scott Bessent issued a very kind, message, official message, saying that as for the currency, we share the same program, we share the same strategy, not only strategy, but also the なんて言えばいいんですかね、こういうのって。わからないです。じゃあ、略してください。同じことを、同じ認識をしていますと。We share the same understanding of what it is, where it is, with regard to currency and rates. And also, he clearly said that United States also always stand on the side of Japan with regard to national security and so on. It was very nice, taking account of the whole thing, what is going on this timing. We are very, really grateful.
Yes, ma'am, and I see that the gains on the yen came after that statement, so there was some impact by the financial markets after your meeting. Do you see that as something that can sustain itself for some time?
As for the currency rate, it's not a big move, and in my position, we have to refrain from clearly describing the exact figure of the currency rate. So I'm sorry, I can't say nothing in detail. But I can say we had a very good impacting meeting yesterday.
It seems that previous meetings like this one with Treasury Secretary Bessent have gone very well. Do you feel you've developed a really positive relationship with your counterpart in the U.S.?
I hope so. And as you know, he has many friends, so many friends in Japanese financial markets and Japanese finance, even in FSA. One of the former FSA chairman used to be the advisor to his fund. when he was dealing with private funds.
Yes, he's not new to the markets here, and they know him well,
And he's
too.
very much fond of Mr. Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
Correct,
And
yes.
Abenomics.
Yes, and Mrs. Abe was just here having a conversation with us, and so it was a very special moment.
I heard of that. I'm very glad to know that. Thank you very much.
Yes. The other thing that we understand you might have talked to Secretary Bessent about is rare earths. There's been a lot of talk about the controversy with China and the heated comments made by the Chinese related to the position your government has taken. Did you make any progress, you think, with the G7 or Secretary Bessent directly on rare earths?
I think Secretary Bessent had accomplished a great job last year because the United States, under his very hard work, could have stopped the China to go quickly to stop the export or limit the export or restrict the export to all industrial countries, including Japan. And he gained approximately 1 year for us to think about and take effective measures. That's why he is in the center of the G7 meeting. That's why we finance minister are deeply involved. And in addition to that, following the conversation at the National Diet of Japan, China's attitude suddenly changed, and they start to push Japan many coercion with regard to tourists, with regard to export, import, and then finally this rare earth problem again. We have experienced 2010 already. It's an old story. In a sense, we are accustomed to that. And Mr. Bessent asked me to come to Washington to make a speech on what Japan has experienced with rare earth trade problem and what we have been struggling to survive. And I made a speech in English for more than 15 minutes to show all my counterparts from G7 country and also from producing country like Australia, India, Mexico. And they were all surprised to see Japan has succeeded in decreasing the dependency ratio on China with regard to rare earths from 2010 to 2012 or 13, only a few years with 90% to 65%. After that, we did have COVID, so things changed. And whenever something like this happens, China starts to do the bargaining. So import increased. So our independency ratio recovered a bit. Our dependency ratio recovered a bit. Then after all these incidents, now it's down to 660. And we are increasing the budget in order to facilitate our private sector to do the recycling, to do the alternative materials, and to diversify the source of procurement of rare earths. We do majorly with 3Ds tactics. And they all realize that, okay, we can make it.
Yes, I know that many of these solutions were discussed at the G7 meeting based on the reporting, and it was impressive. People noted that Japan has made great strides in becoming less dependent upon China, and of course, China has manipulated the market, by flooding them with low-cost rare earths. I know one of the things that was discussed at the G7 meeting based on the reporting was trying to find a common G7 strategy toward creating maybe a floor price on some of these rare earths. Do you think you've made some progress on that?
Yes, as far as I know, because I succeeded the post of Minister of Finance only last October, and we did already have several meetings online, and even at this stage, we already started to talk about some kind of off-take trade, necessity of off-take trade, or floor price, or something like the system of COCOM, which enable all parties in our side and in Western side to balance the price of China and the price among normal countries.
Yes.
So that has a little bit surprised me. Is I can't tell you detail because USTR has not revealed it, but Mr. Gurria, the ambassador of USTR, had his seat there, and he stayed all the meeting, and he revealed a very, very progressive and concrete sort of agreement.
Yes.
That was quite new.
Well, that sounds like great progress, and of course, anything that can reduce some of those tensions and find the ability to source these rare earths, whether they're from China under the right circumstances or from the region where you, as pointed out, have a wealth of capacity to do this. And of course, we've in the United States struggled to rebuild a supply chain that has been badly damaged over time. And I might add, I was an early investor in a little company called Molycorp, which is the largest rare earth mine in the United States, and we're very happy that that's now got a partnership with the United States government in order to really boost its production. So hopefully we do the same thing that's happening in Japan and able to find some self-sufficiency. Let's turn a little bit away from mining and maybe talk a little bit about mining for votes. We're here for a very special time. By the time we arrived in town, you have a special election called snap election. And we know that the government has prioritized its pro-growth policy on the economy. And I was wondering maybe if you could talk a little bit about the approach to the economic policy that the government is promoting and how that will be sold in the election cycle here over the course of the next few weeks.
Now, from now onwards, I will be speaking about elections, so I would like to speak in Japanese language. Now, just yesterday, when I came back to Japan, and what I have just talked about on rare earth issue, I have given detailed report to Prime Minister Takaichi and with the Vice Minister of Finance, as well as the other ministries, high-ranking officials were there. And then on one-on-one basis, I had discussion with Prime Minister Takaichi. Now, from October onwards, the policies that we have introduced and the results of those policies and our coalition. It used to be Komeito, but now we have coalition partner, the Renovation Party, Ishin, and I have discussed with Prime Minister Takaichi how should we go about from now onwards. Now, up until now, the policy was to be responsible, more positive, the financial measures, and also to change the political situation in Japan. That has been very popular among the Japanese youth, especially. As you have referred to earlier, I myself on budget, and as a minister in charge of budget committee, perhaps I'm maybe one of those ministers having the longest time on television, a news program. And as a first woman minister, this was the very first and very unusual for Japanese people. And for women prime minister in Japan to discuss directly to the Japanese public was also very new and unusual. So the viewers rate of the parliament, the program, has doubled, and that we have our statements on television have gone viral on the social media. Going viral was only for scandals in the past, but proper policy statements have gone viral. And everyone thought that politics would never change, but with women coming in, we have been able to show that this is new. We are changing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind your talk.
No problem.
And I appreciate that. And it's very interesting to me. I ran all of John McCain's presidential campaign, so I'm particularly interested in politics and what goes on here in Japan too. And I'm curious. is it the demographic that's young people who seem to be gravitating toward this message of women in powerful positions and the policies of the government, or is it the maybe pro-growth economic policies that young people see a chance to succeed economically? How do you deconstruct that a little bit?
All are true. What you have mentioned applies. For women to become prime minister or finance minister, it was believed that these things do not happen. Somebody is manipulating behind the scenes to prevent this. That is what people thought, but that was not the case. And in public opinion, Takaichi was most popular, and she actually became the prime minister. So that was the icebreaker. And what this means is that if there's public opinion, Japanese politics will change. And what has not changed for a long time, a tax on gasoline has been abolished and it has been halved. And so gasoline and light oil price has gone down. Men prime ministers could not make the decision for a very long time. And LDP, or there have been governments other than LDP in power for several times, giving out money or reducing tax was targeted at the low-income people and the elderly, seniors, and handouts were given to these people, and for the normal people that are paying tax and that are short of money, raising children, did not receive much of a benefit. There were no merits for them. In the past two elections, we lost largely the LDP, and the 20s and 30-year-olds were removed from LDP, but they've come back. Mrs. Abe is here, and the cabinet secretary when Abe was in power is here. But after Abe, stage-wise, the working people, younger people, did not support LDP. We lost popularity with them, and we lost two elections in a row. That does not happen. You win once and you lose once and you win again, but for two consecutive elections we lost and we were below majority, and so that what I felt was a crisis, and that is why I supported Takaichi, and we're show that we've changed, and we want to change the LDP that rewards people who are working. And as finance minister, I'm taking the lead in this effort, and that has been evaluated to a certain extent up until now.
Yes, that's obviously a major driver in an election that'll take place soon, and obviously the Prime Minister's popularity is significant by any standard here or abroad. And it'll be interesting for us all to see and watch from the United States whether or not you are able to lock up more election victories in such a short period of time. And so I'm kind of curious if there's any one issue in particular. Obviously, the economy covers lots of areas. You mentioned a few on potential job creation and income advancement, and maybe you can get a little sense if there's a slogan, if there's a message that is going to be driven home in a very short period of time. In the United States, there's a slogan that's been used around national elections, and it usually rings true, and that's, "It's the economy, stupid." And I don't know how that translates into Japanese, but that is what usually wins elections in the United States, and I'm curious if something like that would work here.
Now, Prime Minister Takaichi's slogan for the LDP presidency election was to make Japanese archipelago stronger and better and more prosperous. For the poster with the Prime Minister Takaichi's the photo, that Japan as a whole should become prosperous and be much stronger. That is a symbol of this poster, not only for Japan today, but she often says those people looking at Japan for the 21st century, because the Japanese are long living and people will live until 100 years old, and This year is 2026. So you'll be living in the 22nd century, perhaps, for your children and grandchildren. Japan should continue to shine and be brilliant, and Japan should not become one of them. And the future should be there for the Japanese people and for those people in the front of us, that we are able to respond for economic measures to become more prosperous through our budgeting. For the future of Japan, we should make our foundation stronger, for productivity level to be enhanced and the real wages to go up, and inflation may remain, but the wage hike would be even better and higher. If there's a good slogan for this, you're a efficient campaign manager. If you could give me in English, I would convey that to Mr. Suzuki, our campaign manager, to translate into Japanese.
I think that live longer if you're for LDP. I like that better. Yeah, it's not the economy, but it's just as good, if not better. So, and that would fit on a bumper sticker, I think, even in Japanese.
Yes.
One of the things that you've also been championing, and I suspect would have an impact on younger voters and the youth of Japan, is cryptocurrencies. Today, the Senate Banking Committee in the United States postponed a markup on crypto market structure legislation. We've been grappling with exactly the same issues, how to deal with cryptocurrency in the marketplace. And we haven't really made much progress. So I'm curious, what's your plan toward cryptocurrencies, and how that will sort of jive with this pro-growth market opportunities that you all are promoting on the economy?
With regard to crypto assets, we made a legal framework early, and with regard to stable coins, we put in place the framework at an early point in time. And crypto assets, in particular Bitcoins and Ethereum, these famous brands, there are people who have some kind of account, and 13 million of these, 13 million have some kind of an account related to these. FX trade was something that we worked on positively, but the number exceeds that time. And in Japan, we started retirement accounts called NISA, and we granted tax preferential treatment. An account is 27 million. So if you have a small amount of cryptocurrency, 13 million is a large number. So tax revision has been decided on, and after the elections, at a certain point in time, the revised tax law will be adopted, and so income from selling crypto assets will be taxed separately. 20% tax will be imposed, only 20%. And those who have acquired cryptocurrency in the past, the value has risen largely, so many people will be paying tax in a huge amount of 55%. So nobody will touch crypto assets. This is the case. Cryptocurrency, this is the case. If the law is passed and it's implemented, it may take 1 or 2 years, but it will become, there'll be a market for transaction created. And I went to the inauguration of President Trump, and I stayed at McCain House, and I met with Ms. Atkins of SEC, and I've met with others. And as the national assets of the Americans, cryptocurrency is a new method of inflation hedge, and it's a diversification of inflation hedge, and people had a positive view of that. Most of the Trump administration supporters, whether it's Mr. Ratwick or Mr. Besant, they were supportive, and Mr. Takati, who is a senator, submitted the Genius Act bill, and it was passed. And the dollar-based world he wants to create for the crypto assets, and that is what the nation is obligated to do. That is what he felt. And I met with Prime Minister Soto and former Prime Minister Kishida, and I said, how should I respond with this? And I said, we should go go along with that. And they said we should follow the movements in Japan. Yen-dollar market is the largest market, and even with the cryptocurrency, we should make sure that it functions to a certain degree.
Yeah, so you would potentially support a like an ETF structure like we have in the United States in the capital markets?
So
Yes, exactly. Basically speaking, in the United States as well, I believe the majority of the people have ETF because for Bitcoin, the one Bitcoin is too expensive. So majority of the people who will benefit from the ETF. And to have a segregated taxation, the part of the cryptocurrency, crypto assets, different from the past, would be treated as financial products, which is under the Financial Instruments Exchange Act, to try to protect the investors and consumers, and for the law to be thoroughly be implemented. It may take time, maybe next year or the year next, but the US version of ETF will be translated into Japanese version ETFs.
That's great. And would you see a conversation to potentially have a government-sponsored stablecoin at some point in the future, too?
CBDC. You're talking about CBDC. Well, that has some complex issues. As of last year, CBDC. What's most famous among CBDC is the Chinese yuan. And with regard to this, United States public opinion is against it. The Trump administration submitted a bill to prohibit that. With regard to digital yuan, we're not going to go along with it. But in Europe, there's a central bank digital currency. They're studying that. And BOJ is also studying this. So we are doing homework. We are studying this. I met with finance ministers other than the United States or the G7, and CBDC, they will be studying that, and they will be, they feel they have to think about stable coins, and JP Morgan, Bank America has started token type of deposits, and there is a deposit assurance, and it's a blockchain, so it's peer-to-peer, so it's the best of all worlds, and so that is something that we could think about. So the 3 mega banks have started experiments, and before that, in Japan, Japanese yen-denominated stable coin. There are companies that have been launched already, and I told FSA to support this as a hub of experiments. So the clearing and settlement technology is such that we should exchange information between our two countries so that we could advance these.
No, that sounds really smart. And obviously, it is the wave of the future. We can see a lot of other countries adopting it. We've even gotten cities in the United States who have created their own stable coins and issued them. So there is a trend toward this digital currency that I think is likely unstoppable in this 21st century. So it's nice to hear Japan has a plan for it. Maybe switching gears a little bit. We've talked a little bit about the pro-growth economic policies of your administration and the kind of impact that has on people having more money in their pocket, being able to increase wages. But there's always this sticky issue in the back of Japan monetary and fiscal discussion, and that's the deficits. And Japan has struggled for some time, as all countries have, including the United States, when it comes to tightening your belt. And I'm curious, maybe after the elections, is there a plan in place to potentially start cutting back on some of the structural deficits in the Japanese budget?
Now, Japan does have huge amount of debt from the past. That is undeniable. But after the budget that we have created this time, OECD has made estimates comparing Japan and the other 6 countries of the G7 group, looking at the single-year fiscal deficit and its ratio of GDP. Japan was the lowest. This was quite surprising. And the reason for this is now we were able to issue a smaller amount of the government debt, and we have been able to reduce the primary balance by 130 million, and we had the surplus was the first seen by our administration, which is most positive on fiscal the measures to be taken for economic growth. We have clearly shown that you need fiscal stimulus to grow the economy. Prime Minister Abe used to say that the economy and the fiscal stimulus go hand in hand. We need to seek the balance between the two, and that has been clearly shown this time. Now, and our dependency on public bond has been 24.2% this time, which is one of the lower level figure amongst the countries. So compared to last year and the year before last, it was the lowest. I used to be responsible for budgeting at the Ministry of Finance. And at the time, 1/3 of the Japanese economy was dependent upon public bond issuance. But this time, it is smaller than 1/4. It is 24.2% this time. So we are able to reach the good primary balance going forward, and we have been able to grow the long-term nursing care and public spending to try to bring resilience for disaster risk reduction as well. And shipbuilding is weak in Japan, just like the United States. So for the funding for shipbuilding, as well as the nuclear fusion, artificial intelligence and semiconductor, we were able to increase the budget because we have wise spending policy. And proactively in the future, we will be able to get more revenue. So budget structure has evolved and progressed. And this is something that we would like to appeal to the Japanese people at this election campaign. And we hope to gain even more votes this time. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great response and a very direct response to the issues related to the deficits. I know if you compare them to the United States, we have not learned how to cut back on our fiscal spending, and we do rely on our GDP growth in order to meet our budget projections into the future. And I hope that Japan has a really great run of economic growth based on the policies that your government is pursuing in order to help adjust those deficit numbers also. It wasn't long ago, Donald Trump was in Japan. And there was a great partnership created, evidently, called the Trump-Japan Fund. And Japan has committed $550 billion to support that. And I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of your perspective. In the public domain, there is not a whole lot of detail about how that fund will be administered or what it is going to be used for. And obviously, the president in the United States has initiated a lot of major building programs, new manufacturing, things like that. I'm curious if you have any further details on that fund and how it'll work.
The president is a tariff man. He's well known for that, and this came in the process of negotiation. If you look at the agreement, however, Japan will not make a lot of money, but Japan will not make a loss. That's the kind of contract that has been framed. In the United States, if capital investments are made, Japanese companies will in principle be in participation. And we're being sounded out on certain cases from the United States, and it's about whether this can be done or not, and as a project, whether it's realistic to expect returns, and we are screening that, reviewing that at the moment. And when the president meets the prime minister, if that happens in March, if there is some progress, it'll be a happy case for both countries. But the private sector companies were surprised to hear this. And so the actual investment and the actual work to be done, whether finance comes from some other source, whether that's the case, the bottleneck is not money. It's introducing equipment and material and human resources. That's more difficult. Whether that can be done or not is something that is being examined at the moment. I feel that if this money is used well, it will be a win-win for both countries. And I talked for a long time with the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Korea. Korea has a similar scheme. They're strong in the field of shipbuilding. Of the $350 billion, $150 billion is shipbuilding, nuclear submarines. One will be built in the United States, one will be built in South Korea. But a lot of things are not yet fixed. Firstly, nuclear submarines, technology sharing, that has to be put to Congress, and that process has not been ended. So there is this huge dream which projects are being advanced. Many factors are coming out. Robots would have to be used, otherwise it's not possible. There are some realities are coming out. We hope that the United States would come to understand this, so that if they look at reality and are pragmatic, I think we'll be able to generate results.
So as I understand it, Japanese companies will be directly involved in either the manufacturing or creating materials and equipment and things like that. So it could benefit the Japanese economy in addition to having an impact on the U.S. economy.
But naturally, now this is in return for no higher tariffs to be imposed. So there would not be investment returns. The interest rates will be paid, but there won't be that much of lucrative profits. It will be overwhelmingly profits for the United States, but Japan would not incur losses. And if the manufacturing project is huge and big, Japan, for the future, beyond those programs, it could be beneficial and plus and positive. And having these programs in the United States, offtake agreements will be concluded under the supervision of the U.S. government. And that is a difficulty for many Japanese companies, so inclusive of the military industry, the healthcare industry, or shipbuilding, where the United States would definitely like to have supply chain, that Japan will be participating would be quite positive. Or it could be energy supply chain as well. And it will be win-win for both our countries. And the taxpayers of both countries, I'm sure, would be satisfied.
Yeah, some reporting indicates that semiconductors, AI, in addition to energy and other supply chain issues, could potentially be parts of this. We've had previous sessions today talking about the need to have better cooperation and partnerships on AI development between Japan and the United States, and sounds like this could be a vehicle to support the financing of some of that and integrate it in both economies.
How to develop AI and how do we use this well to increase productivity is the heart of economic competitiveness, and the most advanced is the United States. Japan is advancing with its own version of AI manufacturing. And to improve efficiency here in Japan, this is necessary. And in the not too distant future, I think this will materialize. And in Japan, there's a shortage of labor. And we should have advanced the following. Robot factories. The United States are very advanced when it comes to robot plants and factories. In Japan, people are very clever with their hands. And even if you don't explain the details, workers in factories are such that people can talk to them very quickly. And when Ashimo was manufactured by Honda, there was no progress in terms of how to develop that further. In the United States, there was much more need for this, and so they used this quite well and thoroughly. In Japan, we are losing young people, so we have to thoroughly engage in this. We want to experience, we want to cooperate, and so that would be this would be very beneficial. and in the world of development. And there's the issue of medical compensation and drug compensation. And the large pharmacy giants of the United States came to see me, and in various aspects they are struggling. Japanese pharmaceutical companies are struggling as well. And universal health coverage, we have that. So I think there's a way we could relate well, get along well with American companies, whether it's clinical trials and so forth.
Yeah, no, that makes enormous sense, and I'm sure everybody looks forward to those discussions on both sides of the table. I must ask you a personal question. This has not got anything to do with the government, so there's no influence on public policy here, but General David Petraeus, who's a great friend of Japan and a member of the McCain Institute board, gave us a talk at lunch today, and he embarrassed most of the attendees by asking us how many of us have an agent on our AI feeds. So if you are in ChatGPT or something, have you created your own agent to be your assistant? So I must ask, do you have an agent? And if so, have you named it?
I don't have an agent, but in 2 years' time there will be another election for me. So the speeches I gave in the past and the press conferences and interviews, it's an enormous amount and volume. So AI Satsuki could be easily be produced. And if the agent is better than me, you should look at those agents rather than looking at my real me. And the voters would like my agent. That is to say, before the Tokyo Metropolitan Government governor, Koike Yuriko had her agent, and I could make arrangements and adaptations for my agent. I could make my agent taller or more beautiful. And Arayumi, the Japanese artist, in her memorial album said that her old songs could be modified with AI. And those who have heard the new modified songs, it was beautiful. So maybe I should create AI Satsuki for my next campaign. So please give me good advice.
Well, I must say, I'll take my advice from David Petraeus. He said almost the same thing. I don't think he was looking to be more beautiful, but he said it's the best speechwriter he's ever had in his entire life is his AI agent. So you definitely ought to be cultivating one right away for that election coming up. And we want to thank you so much for taking the time. We know you've been incredibly busy, flying all over the world, and we appreciate the partnership that you've created in the United States. That's what the McCain Institute is all about, reaching across the world, building partnerships, mutual interests, and ensuring that the world is safe and prosperous. And we look forward to more engagement with Japan. And thank you again very much. I'm sure we all appreciate the frankness with which the minister has given us her talk today. And let's all give her a full round of applause.
Please give a big round of applause for Minister Katayama.